Looking for a reason to stay up at night? Well, here's a look at 14 terrifying games that will leave you with no choice. Warning, this list is not for the faint of heart. Devotion takes you deep into the heart of a seemingly normal family's life. But beneath the surface, everything is falling apart. Set in 1980s Taiwan, the game unfolds inside a single apartment, an ordinary place that soon twists into a suffocating maze of psychological horror. As you explore, you slowly piece together the story of a father's descent into madness, driven by his obsession with faith, tradition, and a need to protect his family at any cost. The game's environment is a masterclass in unsettling atmosphere. What starts as a familiar, cozy home warps into a disturbing reflection of the family's crumbling mental state. Hallways lengthen, rooms change, and the once warm apartment becomes a claustrophobic nightmare filled with eerie visuals and spine-chilling sounds. The more you uncover, the more the line between reality and madness blurs, and the deeper you're pulled into the father's unraveling psyche. The game's use of Taiwanese folklore, combined with its powerful storytelling, makes the horror feel deeply personal and inescapable. Though brief, Devotion is unforgettable. Its impact lingers. The chilling exploration of how belief and obsession can spiral into terror makes it stand out as one of the most haunting psychological horror games out there. Welcome to the house where the walls are whispering, and trust me, they're not saying anything nice. In Visage, you're trapped in a dark, haunted house with disturbing secrets. Your only goal? Escape. But with every step you take, it's clear that leaving won't be easy. The game's eerie atmosphere is as heavy as your growing sense of fear. There's no hand-holding, no hints, and no weapons. Only pure psychological terror. You can wander through the house at your own pace, but good luck staying calm while terrifying events unfold before your eyes. As if the creeping terror wasn't enough, you have to solve a series of cryptic puzzles and riddles. They'll unlock new areas and let you progress through the house. Solving puzzles while something unseen stalks you relentlessly? Now that takes the horror to a whole new level. Forget jump scares. This game toys with your mind, making you question every noise, every flicker of light. You'll swear the house itself is alive, shifting around you. This game drops you into the heart of a horror story, where survival is about making the right decisions before it's too late. Set in an isolated mountain lodge, Until Dawn follows a group of friends who return to the scene of a tragic accident from their past. What begins as a tense reunion quickly spirals into a nightmare when something, or someone, starts hunting them. The game's core mechanic revolves around player choice. Every decision, from the seemingly insignificant to the life or death moments, affects the story's outcome. One wrong move, one missed opportunity, and a character could meet a brutal end. The butterfly effect system ensures that no two playthroughs are the same. Small choices ripple through the story, changing relationships, scenes, and, ultimately, who makes it through the night. Visually, Until Dawn leans into cinematic horror. The snow-covered mountain, dimly lit lodge, and eerie forests set the stage for a game that feels like a slasher film come to life. But it's not just jump scares and monsters. It's the slow, creeping dread that builds with every step, every shadow, and every choice you make. With a gripping story, richly detailed environments, and the constant tension of knowing one wrong move could be fatal, Until Dawn offers a horror experience that leaves you questioning every decision and dreading the next one.
That's more like it. All right. 5, girl.
Imagine you're trapped in a house where the past refuses to stay buried, and the horrors lurking within demand to be uncovered. Madison does just that. You play as Luca, a man caught in the grip of a disturbing ritual that ties him to the house's dark history. Your only tool? A cursed instant camera that reveals far more than you ever wanted to see.
What?
The core mechanic revolves around this camera, which is both your salvation and your curse. You'll use it to solve puzzles, snap photos of disturbing sights, and, most terrifyingly, uncover things hidden in plain sight. The camera reveals secrets within the house, doors where none existed, twisted apparitions, and messages from the dead. Every click of the shutter brings you closer to the truth, but it also tightens the grip of the darkness that surrounds you. Madison plays on psychological horror, using subtle scares that get under your skin. The house itself feels alive, constantly shifting, creaking, and groaning like it's breathing in the shadows. The atmosphere is thick with tension, and every step you take feels like it's leading you deeper into a nightmare you can't escape.
This goes down really deep.
For those who love slow-burn psychological horror, Madison is a deeply unsettling experience, where every photograph could be your last. You're not just dealing with monsters in Soma. Oh no, that would be too easy. Instead, you're stuck at the bottom of the ocean in a research facility where the lines between man and machine have blurred beyond recognition. You'll spend your time navigating dark corridors, avoiding creatures that make you question what it even means to be human. The real horror isn't just the creepy, malfunctioning robots trying to rip you apart. It's the dread that grows as you wonder if you're even human anymore. The facility is falling apart. Reality is slipping. Each step forward raises more questions than answers. But hey, nothing's scarier than you watching this video and not subscribing yet.
Jesus Christ! What the hell?
The sound design is particularly noteworthy. Every distant rumble and groan heightens the sense of dread. Meanwhile, the visual design showcases the deep sea's beauty and terror. It creates a world that is both fascinating and frightening to explore. Alan Wake 2 isn't just a game, it's a nightmare you step into, where survival means escaping a story that's writing itself around you.
My name is Alan Wake.
A horror writer, Alan Wake, is trapped in the dark place, a nightmarish realm where his own writing twists against him, making reality a dangerous game. Meanwhile, FBI agent Saga Anderson arrives in Bright Falls to investigate a series of strange disappearances tied to Alan's fate. As their stories collide, Saga and Alan face a complex mystery that threatens not only their lives, but the very boundaries between fiction and reality itself. Alan Wake 2 achieves a new level of immersion with ultra-realistic graphics that bring every eerie detail to life. From the dense fog to the unsettling shadows, each visual element adds to the dread, pulling you into an experience that feels far too real for comfort. You carry a flashlight to navigate Bright Falls' eerie streets and fend off dark creatures. These shadowy enemies are immune to regular attacks. Your light reveals their weaknesses, making them vulnerable. In Bright Falls, even a small streetlight feels like safety. It's a brief moment of relief before darkness and monsters return. The way the FBI investigation ties it all together is brilliant. You piece through clues that blur the lines between the real and the surreal. Step into the shoes of Ethan Winters, an ordinary man searching for his missing wife, Mia. His search leads him to a rundown plantation in rural Louisiana, but what he finds inside is far worse than he ever could have imagined. Switching to a first-person perspective, Resident Evil 7 immerses you directly into the terror. The decaying walls of the Baker estate close in on you, and the sense of dread is palpable. Every creaking floorboard and distant noise makes your pulse quicken as you inch your way through the house. But it's not just the atmosphere that'll get to you, it's the Bakers themselves. Jack, Marguerite, and Lucas are always watching, always waiting to strike when you least expect it, and they have no intention of letting you leave. The gameplay returns to the franchise's survival horror roots. It has limited ammo, scarce resources, and a constant need to manage your inventory. Every shot counts, and every encounter feels like a battle for your life. There's no cavalry coming to save you, just you, your wits, and whatever weapons you can scrounge up in this decaying hellhole.
Is that if you get this, stay away.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to be trapped in an abandoned asylum with violent psychopaths? Yeah, you probably shouldn't. Outlast doesn't just throw you into a nightmare, it shoves you in and locks the door behind you. You play as investigative journalist Miles Upshur. He, unfortunately, breaks into the Mount Massive Asylum. Science has gone horribly wrong there, leaving the patients, well, let's just say deranged is putting it mildly. Armed with only a camcorder and your wits, your goal is simple: survive. But here's the catch: you're defenseless. With no weapons and no way to fight, your only choices are to run, hide, or face a brutal end. The asylum is a maze of horrors, with each room more disturbing than the last. The atmosphere is suffocating. Every flicker of your night vision camera and every distant scream sends shivers down your spine. Just when you think it can't get worse, Outlast introduces some of the most terrifying enemies in survival horror. Each is more gruesome and sadistic than the last. And what cranks the fear up to unbearable levels is the unpredictability. Their erratic behavior keeps you on constant alert, with no moment feeling truly safe. Silent Hill 2 is widely considered one of the most iconic horror games ever made, and for good reason. The fresh remake makes some tasteful changes. It shifts from the original fixed camera angles to a more immersive over-the-shoulder view. This new view makes the terror more immediate and visceral. Imagine coming face to face with Pyramid Head in 4K. Yeah, good luck sleeping after that. You play as James Sunderland. A letter from his dead wife asks him to meet her in Silent Hill, a town where nothing is ever quite as it seems. Desperate for answers, James enters the fog-shrouded town. The boundaries between reality and nightmare blur. And the monsters, they aren't just horrifying, they're reflections of your deepest fears and regrets. This game plunges into the depths of your psyche. It forces you to face uncomfortable truths about guilt, grief, and self-destruction. The enemies represent James's inner conflicts. Pyramid Head, one of horror gaming's most notorious monsters, symbolizes punishment and suffering. This makes you wonder who the real monster really is. The fog-drenched streets of Silent Hill are unsettling. Every faint sound sends shivers down your spine. The town itself seems to shift and twist, as if it's molding itself around your darkest fears. Silent Hill's mystery, its haunting soundtrack, and its emotional story create a terrifying experience. Though it might not have the widespread recognition of bigger horror titles, From the Darkness has quietly earned its place as one of the most underrated psychological horror games out there. Its setting, an abandoned Soviet-era apartment. This place envelops you in a chilling sense of fear, making every shadow seem to conceal something sinister. You're returning to a long-forgotten, crumbling apartment complex to retrieve a family photo. Seems simple, right? Except as soon as you step inside, it's clear something is deeply, deeply wrong. Dread hangs in the thick air. Shadows stretch toward you. The faintest sound, a creaking floor, a door slowly closing behind you, feels like a warning. But from what? Armed with nothing but a flickering flashlight and a strong sense of regret for even entering the building, you'll find yourself navigating its decaying halls, solving cryptic puzzles, and uncovering a story that gets more horrifying the deeper you dig. The fear doesn't come from cheap jump scares. Oh no, it's the slow creeping realization that you're not alone. And trust me, whatever is watching you is in no rush to reveal itself. Yet. The Dead Space remake breathes new life into one of the most terrifying sci-fi horror games ever made. Set aboard the USG Ishimura, a massive mining ship, the game puts you in the boots of engineer Isaac Clarke. The ship is overrun by gruesome, mutated creatures known as necromorphs. You must survive in the most horrifying work environment imaginable. What makes Dead Space truly terrifying isn't just the necromorphs, though trust me, they're more than enough to make you think twice about space travel. It's the overwhelming sense of isolation, claustrophobia, and helplessness as you wander through blood-streaked corridors where every flicker of light could mean death. And let's not forget the brilliant sound design, the eerie, distant clanging of metal, or the unsettling silence before all hell breaks loose. The remake doesn't just overhaul the graphics, it enhances every aspect of the original. From the zero-gravity sections to the bone-chilling atmosphere, it feels more immersive, more intense, and more terrifying than ever before. You'll need to dismember your enemies strategically, but ammo is scarce, so every shot counts. And if you hear something creeping up behind you, run. Released in 2014, The Evil Within was created by Shinji Mikami, the legendary mind behind the original Resident Evil. This game marked his return to survival horror, and it's a twisted masterpiece that drags you into a world where nightmares are born. As Detective Sebastian Castellanos, you must survive a warped reality, a routine investigation gone horribly wrong, where logic no longer applies. What makes The Evil Within truly terrifying is the psychological assault on your mind. Every corner hides something worse than the last, and resources are scarce, leaving you to decide between fighting or fleeing. The twisted creatures aren't just nightmare fuel. They're manifestations of the deepest fears and traumas designed to push you to the brink of despair. The game's environments shift without warning, pulling you from blood-soaked hospitals to decaying mansions, creating a feeling of relentless tension. One moment you think you're safe, and the next, the world transforms into a new nightmare. This unpredictability turns every step into a nerve-wracking challenge, where reality becomes your enemy and escape feels not just unlikely, but unimaginable. Amnesia: The Dark Descent is a masterclass in survival horror. It redefined the genre in 2010 with its focus on psychological terror, a dark atmosphere, and a sense of pure helplessness. You wake up in a dark, crumbling castle with no memory of how you got there, or why something is hunting you. As Daniel, you're not just battling the horrors lurking in the shadows. You're also fighting to keep your sanity intact. Every moment you spend in darkness, your mind unravels further, and the creatures that stalk you become even more dangerous. And here's the kicker: you can't fight back. You can only run, hide, and hope whatever's chasing you doesn't find you. The heavy atmosphere crushes you from the moment you wake up. The castle's hallways are suffocating. Every door you open creaks like a warning. Distant sounds of something moving, something not human, haunt you at every turn. Amnesia strips you of power, making you completely helpless. With no weapons, limited light, and a sanity meter that punishes you for looking directly at the horrors, the game forces you to confront fear head-on. You're constantly on the edge of madness, where your mind is as much an enemy as the monsters chasing you. In Alien Isolation, you take on the role of Amanda Ripley, searching for clues about your mother's disappearance. Your journey leads you to the Sevastopol space station, a desolate, decaying husk drifting through space. But Sevastopol isn't as empty as it seems. A single xenomorph, the perfect predator, stalks the halls, and it's hunting you. The xenomorph is invincible, and the only way to survive is to outsmart it. It moves unpredictably and learns from your behavior. You can't fight it. You can't kill it. All you can do is hide and pray it doesn't find you. And it will hear you. Breathing too loud, running when you shouldn't, or even using your tools at the wrong moment can draw its attention. The terror comes from knowing that you're always being hunted, and there's no way to know where it will strike next. The game's setting adds to the nightmare. Sevastopol's dark, claustrophobic corridors, malfunctioning systems, and oppressive atmosphere amplify the fear. Every creak, every hiss of steam, every flicker of light feels like a potential warning that the xenomorph is close. And when the alien appears, the sheer panic is overwhelming. The beeping of your motion tracker, which should be reassuring, quickly turns into your worst enemy as it confirms the creature is closing in on you. Now tell me, what game keeps you up at night?